In the ancient and medieval eras, these women were not mourned as widows, nor celebrated. Their stories, long forgotten, buried beneath the sands of time, reveal a haunting convergence of devotion, political ambition, and primal fear, a stark testament to societies that valued power over humanity, where love was twisted into a death sentence and loyalty became a suffocating cage. These queens, whose names have faded into obscurity, were not mere footnotes in history but vibrant lives extinguished in the name of ritual, their sacrifices exposing the dark underbelly of empires that thrived on control. Across ancient civilizations, the practice of sacrificing queens was not a rare aberration but a grim reality, woven into the cultural, spiritual, and in ancient India, the ritual of Sati cast a long, oppressive shadow over widows, compelling them to ascend their husband's funeral pyre, their bodies consumed by roaring flames as a public declaration of ultimate loyalty. This was no private act of mourning but a spectacle, a cultural mandate that transformed grief into a performance of submission, witnessed by crowds who saw it. In ancient China, during the Xia and Shang dynasties, queens and concubines faced an equally gruesome fate, buried alive in elaborate, cavernous tombs to serve their emperors in the afterlife. Their lives among nomadic tribes and in ancient Persia, certain societies clung to a belief that a wife's death alongside her husband guaranteed his protection in the afterlife, binding her existence to his in an eternal cycle of servitude that transcended mortality. Envision the scene. A funeral procession moves with deliberate solemnity through a hut. Mournful drums beat a steady, somber rhythm, their echoes mingling with the piercing, mournful wail of horns that seem to cry out for the lost. A heavy, ornate coffin, adorned with intricate symbols of power and divinity, is carried through a silent crowd, their faces a complex tapestry of reverence, fear. The camera lingers on the women chosen for sacrifice, queens, concubines, or noble wives whose expressions tell a story of their own. Some eyes glisten with unshed tears, reflecting the flickering torchlight. Others are clouded with raw, unfiltered fear, and a few burn with a quiet, unyielding defiance as they are led, step by trembling step, toward a fate they cannot escape. The stories of these queens are not merely tragic, they are profoundly haunting, their lives erased by the unrelenting machinery of ritual, power, and control. In the Shang dynasty, a young queen, barely past the bloom of youth, stands at the edge of a cold, stone tomb, her hands bound with coarse, unyielding rope, her heart pounding in her chest as she is led into an abyss of darkness. Torches flicker weakly, casting ghostly, dancing shadows on the damp, unyielding walls, their light offering no comfort as the massive stone door grinds shut with a finality that reverberates through the earth. Her muffled cries, desperate and fleeting, fade into an oppressive silence, a void that speaks of countless lives forgotten in the name of duty. On the vast, windswept steppes of the Mongol Empire, a princess, adorned in silks that shimmer like starlight under the open sky, is forced to take her own life to accompany a powerful Khan into the afterlife. Her death, cloaked in the language of honor, feels like a merciless sentence, a brutal reflection of the expectations imposed on women of status, whose worth was measured not by their wisdom or courage, but by their willingness to die for a man's legacy. In medieval India, noble widows faced an unimaginable choice: to step willingly onto their husband's pyre, the flames licking hungrily at their feet as the crowd watched in silent, judgmental awe, or to be coerced, their bodies forced into the fire by a society that left no room for resistance or refusal. Some chose death out of despair, believing it their only path in a world that offered no alternative. Others were dragged to their fate, their cries drowned out by the crackle of flames and the murmurs of onlookers, their autonomy crushed beneath the weight of tradition. The camera captures the raw, unfiltered intensity of their emotions, tears streaming down pale, trembling faces, hands clutching at embroidered garments in a futile grasp for control, or the eerie, hollow silence of those who have accepted the inevitable, their eyes staring into a void that mirrors their Yet, amid this overwhelming despair, some women resisted in ways that were subtle but profoundly powerful. A defiant glance that challenged the crowd's gaze, a whispered prayer that carried their hopes into the unknown, or a refusal to bow their heads as they faced their end. These quiet acts of rebellion, often unseen by those around them, stand as a why did these practices endure, persisting across empires, cultures, and centuries like a dark thread woven through the tapestry of human history. The sacrifice of queens was a calculated, deliberate act designed to reinforce patriarchal power and cement the notion that a woman's life was subservient to her husband's, even in death. These rituals were not merely about loyalty, they were carefully orchestrated spectacles, projecting an image of unwavering devotion that reassured societies of stability, order, and continuity in the wake of a ruler's death. A widowed queen was not just a grieving spouse. She was a potential threat, a figure whose influence, wisdom, or connections could rally rival factions, destabilize a new regime, or challenge the fragile hierarchy of power. By sacrificing her, empires ensured that she could never become a focal point of resistance, her death serving as a brutal instrument of control that preserved the egos and ambitions of those who ruled. These queens were not merely victims of their husbands' deaths, they were casualties of a system that prioritized power over humanity, their lives extinct. The rituals, often cloaked in spiritual rhetoric about eternal devotion or divine will, were also political tools, designed to suppress any flicker of autonomy and to project an image of absolute control to subjects who might otherwise question the regime's authority. In some cases, these sacrifices were meant to appease the gods or ensure cosmic balance, but beneath the veneer of spirituality lay a colder truth. The deaths of these women were a means to an end, a way to consolidate power, eliminate threats, and reinforce the subjugation of women within a male-dominated world. Their stories, though buried in the dust of time, are not lost. They speak of courage, of resistance, of the unyielding human spirit that refused to be fully extinguished, even in the face of unimaginable cruelty. These women were not mere victims, they were daughters. In telling their tales, we honor the strength of those who were silenced, weaving their voices into the fabric of history so that future generations may know the true cost of power, the resilience of those who faced it, and the enduring power of remembrance to reclaim what was lost.